If you are a true enthusiast of the Castlevania franchise, the heroics of Dracula's son Alucard can surely be no mystery to you. Alucard, a Damphair, is both a human and a vampire. Strangely enough, Alucard is the universe's devilishly handsome answer to the long-enduring struggle between the vampires and the humans. With the franchise's steaming surge in popularity outside of the gaming world, we have seen a rising number of new fans, mostly because of the super popular Netflix animated series, and now of course the new spin-off series, Castlevania Nocturn. For those who have finished watching the 8 blood-curdling episodes of Nocturn, did you see that cliffhanger ending coming from miles away? Because I sure as hell did not. Anyway, we'll come to that later. In this video, we will embark on a journey to explore the intriguing character of Alucard within the Castlevania series, especially delving into his original incarnation from the primary timeline. Beware as we venture into this discussion, there may be spoilers for those who have not yet experienced the games firsthand. Additionally, for the Netflix Castlevania series enthusiasts, it's worth noting that the show loosely draws inspiration from the first Castlevania game, so there may be mild spoilers for that as well. With this disclaimer in mind, let us begin our exploration of the complex and enigmatic figure known as Alucard. But before we go into our explanation, we do have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who exactly is Alucard? How did he come to hate his father? Alucard's origins trace back to the mid-1450s when he was born to the notorious Vlad Dracula and the kind-hearted Lisa Tepesh, a healer and a mortal. This enigmatic character possesses a striking appearance, characterized by his handsome features with a slightly pointed face, pale complexion, long wavy blonde hair cascading down his back, and captivating golden eyes. In the entire franchise, Alucard is often clad in tight-fitting black leather attire, complemented by sturdy black boots. His typical ensemble includes a coat or a long cape, adding to his aura of mystique. Tragedy soon descended upon Alucard's life as in 1475, Lisa was tragically accused of witchcraft and condemned to be burned at the stake. This event served as a catalyst for the rift between father and son. At the tender age of 19, Alucard witnessed his father's descent into darkness as Dracula began summoning an unholy army from the depths of hell, driven by a thirst for vengeance against the death of his beloved. Alucard, his heart burdened by the impending atrocities, took it upon himself to confront his father. He pleaded with Dracula, imploring him to spare the lives of innocent people, but his father remained resolute in his sinister path. This heart-wrenching encounter led to a fierce battle between father and son, and Alucard emerged from this confrontation scarred, bearing a profound wound on his chest. How did Alucard meet Trevor Belmont and Symphony Of The Night? In the wake of his defeat, Alucard sought refuge beneath the city of Gressit, where he sealed himself within a coffin to regain his strength. Eventually, legends began to circulate about the sleeping soldier hidden beneath Gressit, foretelling the arrival of a hunter and a scholar. The year 1476 marked Alucard's awakening, now 20 years old, as he encountered Trevor Belmont, the skilled hunter, and Symphony Of The Night, the knowledgeable scholar. While Symphony believed that Alucard was the prophesied sleeping soldier, Trevor, being a classic Belmont, harbored suspicions that this might potentially be none other than Dracula himself. Naturally, as tensions escalated, a fierce confrontation between Alucard and Trevor ensued. As Trevor landed a devastating slash across Alucard's chest, the situation teetered on the brink of violence, and the Damphair held Trevor down and proceeded to bite him in retaliation, only to find himself pierced through the heart by Trevor's own blade. Now Trevor, driven by an unwavering determination to end Alucard's existence, was willing to sacrifice his own life for this purpose. However, the gravity of the moment and the unwavering resolve displayed both by Trevor and Symphony ultimately stayed Alucard's hand. He relinquished his aggressive stance and revealed his true identity, stating that he had long awaited the arrival of individuals who would aid him in his quest to vanquish Dracula. With mutual understanding and a shared goal, Alucard joined forces with Trevor and Symphony, convinced that together they possessed the power to confront and ultimately destroy the malevolent force of his father, Dracula. How did Alucard finally defeat his father, Dracula? Alucard, the half-human, half-vampire son of Dracula, reveals a crucial piece of information to his newfound companions, Trevor Belmont and Cypher Belnadis. They learn about the eerie mechanics behind Dracula's castle, how it can move from place to place, eluding any attempt to confront its malevolent owner. Realizing the need to anchor the castle to a single location to mount an effective assault, Trevor suggests exploring the vault beneath the Belmont castle, a repository of knowledge and artifacts on monster hunting passed down through generations, which begins with Cypher procuring a cart for transportation. During their ride, Cypher inquires about Alucard's ability to withstand daylight as a vampire, to which he attributes his unique endurance to his half-human heritage. As night falls, their respite is interrupted by a vicious attack from a group of night creatures. The trio successfully dispatches most of the creatures, although one manages to escape, albeit severely wounded. Upon reaching the Belmont estate, they discover the concealed vault. While Alucard is both impressed and disturbed by the extensive collection of vampire skulls, he assists Trevor and Cypher in sifting through the vast trove of information. Amid their research, tensions flare, and Alucard and Trevor engage in verbal sparring while Cypher makes a significant discovery, finding a potential means to lock Dracula's castle in place. Meanwhile, Alucard unearths a mirror capable of viewing distant locations. As they prepare to relocate Dracula's castle, a horde of night creatures launch a ferocious attack, and Trevor valiantly holds them off while Cypher completes the locking spell. Alucard uses the mirror to locate Dracula's castle's current position, allowing Cypher to utilize her powers to transport it from Braila to above the Belmont estate. With the castle now in their reach, Alucard, Trevor, and Cypher embark on a relentless assault, decimating Dracula's vampire army and generals before facing Dracula himself. The battle rages throughout the castle, leaving a trail of destruction as they crash through walls and floors in their frenzied combat. Eventually, their confrontation leads them to Alucard's childhood room, where Dracula confronts the devastating realization that he is battling his own son, who was his last living connection to Lisa, his sweet, beloved wife. In a moment of clarity, Dracula allows Alucard to drive a stake through his heart, following which Alucard's allies arrive, and they put an end to Dracula's reign of terror by beheading him and incinerating his remains. With Dracula vanquished, Alucard initially intends for Dracula's castle to serve as his own tomb. However, Trevor persuades him to become the guardian of both Dracula's knowledge and the Belmont family legacy, directing these resources towards the betterment of humanity and the world in general. So, a convinced Alucard agrees with them and bids them farewell as Trevor and Cypher embark on a new adventure. But this leaves him all alone in that huge castle, tidying up the ransacked interiors from his fight with Dracula, which grapples Alucard with the overwhelming grief that eventually engulfs him. Alucard's solo adventures after Dracula's death. In the aftermath of Dracula's demise, Alucard opts to remain behind, steadfastly guarding the fortress of Dracula's castle and the esteemed Belmont keep. Within this solitary existence, he undertakes the task of sourcing and preparing his own food, yet the lingering absence of his once companions, Trevor and Cypher, leaves a palpable void that fills him with an acute sense of loneliness. It is during one of these routine tasks, as he fills water buckets, that Alucard is unexpectedly approached by two young vampire hunters, Sumi and Taka. They are well aware of Alucard's legendary status and approach him with a fervent desire to learn the intricate art of vampire hunting. Although initially reticent, Alucard eventually relents and agrees to become their mentor. In the days that follow, Alucard's bond with Sumi and Taka deepens as they embark on their training. He begins to share not only his extensive knowledge of vampire hunting, but also grants them access to the closely guarded secrets within the Belmont keep. In return, the young hunters confide in him, revealing their burning desire for vengeance against the vampire mistress, Chio, who had grievously wounded them. However, there are certain aspects of the castle's intricate mechanisms that Alucard chooses to withhold, dismissing their persistent inquiries. Yet, one night, as Alucard wrestles with restless slumber, the situation takes an unexpected and sinister twist as Taka and Sumi come into his room and begin initiating a sexual encounter that swiftly spirals into a malevolent trap. The hunters ensnare Alucard with a nefarious magical constraint and attempt to end his life. Desperation grips Alucard as he pleads fruitlessly for them to halt their assault. Ultimately, he has no choice but to summon his magical sword, employing it to deliver fatal wounds to Sumi and Taka, thus putting an abrupt and violent end to their treacherous act. By slitting cutting their throats open. Haunted by the traumatic betrayal he has endured, Alucard becomes paranoid as he seeks solace in an even more reclusive and solitary lifestyle. He indulges in drinking alcohol and takes it upon himself to eliminate any intruders who dares encroach upon his domain. The distraught Damphir grimly displays their lifeless remains on pikes, much like the macabre deterrent reminiscent of his father, Dracula. Weeks pass in this bleak existence until a lone horse arrives at the castle, bearing the lifeless rider, Marius. Intriguingly, Marius's body carries a message, imploring Alucard to come to the aid of Danesti, besieged by a dire plague of monstrous creatures. Although initially reluctant to heed to this request, Alucard is struck by the sheer determination of Marius, who has managed to reach the castle, even in death. In recognition of this extraordinary feat, he provides Marius with a proper and respectful burial. As Alucard contemplates the course of his life, he begins to discern a profound transformation taking place within him. He recognizes that he is gradually adopting traits and characteristics reminiscent of Trevor Belmont. Anyway, in the wake of Marius's message imploring him to save Dasanti from a horde of monstrous creatures, Alucard embarks on a challenging journey, riding the messenger's horse for 20 miles to reach the beleaguered village. As he arrives, he is greeted by a terrifying sight of armored beasts assaulting the village's walls. With a swift and decisive motion, Alucard draws his sword and shield, launching into action, slaying the marauding monsters with a fierce determination. His valor in battle catches the attention of Greta, the village leader, who extends her gratitude to Alucard. While she does not pass judgment on him for being a half-vampire, she emphasizes the dire need to protect the villagers from the relentless night creature attacks. Alucard readily concurs with her sentiment, recognizing the imperative of safeguarding innocent lives. In the midst of this turmoil, a group of refugees from Lhasa arrives, and Alucard's heightened senses detect a sinister pattern where these night creature attacks are actually being orchestrated as raids to satiate the vampire's thirst for blood. Saint-Germain, a figure well-versed in mystical knowledge, proposes a daring plan to evacuate every villager and relocate them to the sanctuary of Dracula's castle. Initially apprehensive about this idea, Alucard eventually acquiesces. Together, Alucard and Saint-Germain take on the task of leading the villagers on the arduous journey back to the castle through the treacherous night. Along the way, Alucard and Greta find moments to exchange their life stories, gradually forging a deeper connection. The journey is fraught with peril as they encounter ferocious night creatures, but the shared experiences bring Alucard and Greta closer together. Finally, after enduring numerous hardships, the refugees arrive at the castle. Alucard welcomes them inside, yet he initially chooses solitude, spending his time on the parapets. However, an encounter with a group of children gradually begins to soften his heart, drawing him out of his isolation and fostering a newfound sense of warmth and connection. As the villagers settle within the castle, they prepare to defend themselves against the relentless siege of night creatures. In the meantime, Saint-Germain begins to chant his incantations, unleashing his mystical powers and consuming the souls of the deceased to bolster their defense. They initially hold the upper hand in the battle until the arrival of Dragon and his frightening entourage, including the monstrous Gargoth. As the villagers face overwhelming odds, a grim retreat to the safety of the castle's interior becomes their only option. Alucard and Greta bear witness to a fateful turn of events as Saint-Germain, in his pursuit of power, opens the infinite corridor and summons the souls of the dead using death magic for the Rebis, ultimately revealing his true intentions. As Saint-Germain explains his grand plan, Alucard and Greta race downstairs to defend the castle gates against the Fists. Meanwhile, Cypher and Trevor arrive to join Alucard and confront their respective adversaries, progressing upward within the castle. Their combined efforts lead to a victorious showdown against the cult of Dracula. Dragon, the last remaining adversary, meets his end at the hands of Alucard. However, the culmination of their battle unleashes unforeseen consequences. Death, the ominous figure, appears and initiates a sequence that closes the red magic elemental portal, summoning the souls of both Dracula and Lisa into the Rebis, the embodiment of Death's master plan. So, Alucard and his companions find themselves embroiled in a final battle against Death, with Trevor leading the charge. After this climactic confrontation, Alucard returns to Greta and engages in discussions about the future and the permanent location of the villagers. Greta, noticing Alucard's growing faith in humanity, recognizes his vital role in her village. As they deliberate, They are joined by a grieving Cypher. In their conversation, Cypher reveals her desire to reunite with her family of speakers as she is now pregnant. Alucard offers his heartfelt congratulations and encourages her to stay, while Greta suggests that the village can be established on the grounds of the Belmont Hold and Dracula's castle, creating a thriving community for Cypher's child. So Cypher agrees to this proposition, beginning plans for the future, and they are soon met with an unexpected and heartwarming surprise, marking a new chapter in their lives. Alucard in Castlevania Nocturn. In the final moments of Castlevania Nocturn, the vampire killers find themselves on the brink of defeat as Richter, Annette, Terra, and Maria's plan to destroy the Abbot's Forge Master machine has backfired, leading to Terra sacrificing herself to Elizabeth Bathory in a desperate attempt to save Maria from her nefarious schemes. With their plans in ruins, the remaining heroes are left in a dire predicament, pursued by the vampire messiah's lieutenant Drolta Zuentis and her legion of monstrous creatures, seemingly with no hope of escape. Just as Drolta prepares to deliver a final blow towards Richter, a dramatic twist occurs. A sword pierces through Drolta's heart, and the wielder is none other than Alucard, the son of Dracula himself. We witness James Callis reprise his role as Alucard, making a surprise cameo in the final moments of the series, setting the stage for his potentially significant role in Season 2. This unexpected appearance of Alucard aligns with the spin-off show's ambition to adapt elements not only from Rondo of Blood, but also from various other Konami games. Characters like Bathory and Zuzentis, for instance, originated from the 1994 Sega Genesis game Castlevania Bloodlines, set a century after Richter's adventures. The show also aims to incorporate elements from the acclaimed 1997 PlayStation game Symphony of the Night, often considered one of the series' finest entries. This inclusion of Alucard bridges the narrative gaps between the animated series, Nocturne, Rondo of Blood, and Symphony of the Night. In this context, it is vital to consider the potential dark turn Richter story arc from Symphony could take in Season 2. In Symphony of the Night, Richter, despite initially defeating the sorcerer Shaft in Rondo of Blood and Dracula, becomes the new head of the castle, replacing Dracula as the main antagonist. His sinister plan involves resurrecting Dracula from the grave, a shocking twist that puzzles fans. The narrative behind this transformation is unveiled as Alucard, awakened from his sleep, embarks on a quest to get hold of Richter, discovering that Shaft had brainwashed him in the time between Symphony and Rondo, manipulating him into taking over the castle for Dracula. Should Nocturne Season 2 choose to adapt Richter's storyline from Symphony, it could mean tumultuous times ahead for the young Belmont. However, the enigmatic vampire queen Bathory might manipulate Richter into joining her cause, further complicating matters and leaving Alucard, Annette, and Maria to work together to save Richter from her clutches. All of these developments could ultimately lead to the return of the Dark Lord himself, Dracula, a significant event in Castlevania lore said to occur once every century, a milestone that has now arrived after 300 years, setting the stage for a potentially epic showdown in Season 2. What makes Alucard so powerful? Alucard's unique physiology as a Dhampir, a hybrid of vampire with human heritage, grants him a range of superhuman abilities, setting him apart from regular humans and even most vampires. Alucard can easily deliver a single punch with enough force to send opponents like Trevor Belmont flying across a room. This strength becomes evident when Alucard effortlessly lifts heavy rubble to clear a trapdoor, a task that proved challenging even for Trevor. Moreover, Alucard can inflict damage on invulnerable adversaries like his father, Dracula, with unarmed strikes, distinguishing him from Trevor, whose punches had minimal impact on Dracula. Coming to Alucard's superhuman speed, which allows him to move at astonishing velocities in short bursts, leaving behind trace images of his movements that are challenging for the human eye to perceive. This speed is nearly indistinguishable from teleportation, making Alucard a swift and agile combatant, often utilizing this ability to outmaneuver foes, swiftly moving from their front to strike at their back. Furthermore, Alucard's high endurance and rapid regeneration grants him exceptional pain tolerance and allows him to regenerate from wounds that would be lethal to humans. This remarkable regeneration becomes evident when he heals wounds inflicted by both Trevor and Dracula. Plus, as a Dhampir, Alucard ages at an extraordinarily slow rate, granting him an extended lifespan, which is a characteristic shared with his vampire heritage. Alucard also possesses the shape-shifting ability that grants him versatility in combat and navigation. While he can transform into a wolf and a bat, it is unclear if he can assume mist form as seen in the main game series. Additionally, Alucard has displayed proficiency in magic, a skill that he likely inherited from his vampire lineage. He can manipulate magical objects, such as a magical mirror, and employ his sword as a magic catalyst to cast blue flames. Another one of Alucard's unique abilities is his command over his magical sword, which he can summon and control using telekinesis, allowing for precise control and strategic advantages in combat situations. Now, in terms of combat prowess, Alucard is a master hand-to-hand combatant, displaying exceptional martial arts skills. He can hold his own in battle against physically superior opponents. Furthermore, Alucard's swordsmanship is highly proficient, enabling him to fight effectively with various styles and techniques, even employing unorthodox methods like using telekinesis to lash out with his sword independently. Apart from this, Alucard's intelligence is at a genius level, shaped by his upbringing and education under the guidance of his parents. Although not as knowledgeable as his father, Dracula, Alucard possesses a high degree of intellect and deep knowledge in various fields. He collaborates with Cypher to lock down Dracula's castle, showcasing his research and problem-solving ability. After inheriting Castlevania and gaining access to the Belmont library, Alucard's intellectual capabilities become comparable to Dracula's brilliance. Moreover, while not dedicating as much time to alchemy as other practices, Alucard's understanding of alchemy and his connection to magic grants him a unique perspective and competence in these areas. This expertise is notable as it differentiates him from characters like Saint Germain, whose stronger association with alchemy carries a distinct odor. Overall, the list of Alucard's strength is pretty long and heavy, which really justifies his befitting moniker as the all-powerful but benevolent son of Dracula. Alucard's gaming history in the Castlevania franchise. Now that we have fully covered Alucard's original backstory, let's take a look at his enigmatic conquests featured in the gaming history of the Castlevania franchise. Alucard in Castlevania III, Dracula's Curse. In 1476, when Trevor C. Belmont embarked on his mission to confront Count Dracula, who had ensnared his own son in evil, Alucard anticipated Trevor's arrival. Seeking to gauge the hero's prowess, Alucard challenged him to a duel. Eventually impressed by Trevor's strength and skill, Alucard acknowledged his defeat and proposed joining forces to vanquish Dracula. Together, they succeeded in defeating Dracula, but the act weighed heavily on Alucard's conscience, burdened by the guilt of patricide. To alleviate his inner torment, he entered a deep slumber, willingly suppressing his formidable powers. Alucard in Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. In 1797, faced with the absence of a Belmont to safeguard humanity, Alucard reluctantly awakened from his slumber and delved into Castlevania to investigate the unsettling situation. He uncovered the distressing truth that Richter Belmont had fallen under the sway of evil forces, manipulating the castle. Teaming up with Richter's relative Maria Renard, they unraveled the dark mystery where the malevolent priest Shaft had manipulated Richter, aiming to resurrect Dracula. After freeing Richter from Shaft's control, Alucard ventured into a nightmarish, inverted version of Castlevania, teaming with formidable adversaries, ultimately confronting Shaft. Although Alucard triumphed over Shaft, the sinister plan had already come to fruition. He engaged in a poignant final battle with his father, defeating Dracula once more and sending him back to eternal slumber. In a fleeting moment of humanity, Dracula was moved by Alucard's revelation of Lisa's last words, desiring peace for humanity and professing eternal love. Alucard contemplated returning to his own rest, but Maria, who had developed deep feelings for him, endeavored to persuade him otherwise. Alucard in Castlevania, Nocturn of Recollection. 1 year after his triumph over his father, Alucard faced a sinister threat in the form of an incubus named Magnus, who relentlessly attempted to sway Alucard back to the path of evil. But the Damphair resolutely resisted these temptations. Instead, he allied himself with Maria, Richter, Cyril, and Alexis, uniting their forces against the malevolent Magnus. During their confrontation, Magnus shockingly unveiled Alucard's dark history of consuming human blood, which included the transformation of his loyal servant Lyudmil into a vampire. When Maria confronted him with these accusations, Alucard did not refute the allegations, and this revolution ultimately led to a harrowing showdown between Lyudmil and Alucard, orchestrated by Magnus. Alucard in Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow. In 2036, Alucard, disguising himself as Genya Arikado, encountered Soma Cruz and played a pivotal role in guiding him through Dracula's castle. Initially, he urged Soma not to intervene in the conflict with Celia Fortuna's cult. However, as events unfolded, Arikado found himself working alongside Soma and providing guidance by giving Soma a protective talisman. During confrontations with Celia and her henchmen, Arikado displayed his extensive knowledge and powers. He also revealed his true identity as Alucard to Dmitry Blinov, who sought to harness Soma's abilities for nefarious purposes. Arikado also worked with Julius Belmont to break a barrier leading to the abyss and pursued Dmitry, ultimately witnessing the rise of the formidable menace. In the aftermath of their victory, Alucard contemplated the possibility of a new Dark Lord emerging if the world required one, reflecting on the complexities of their situation. Alucard in Castlevania, Grimoire of Souls. In his encounter with the Elgos member Lucy Westenra, Alucard initially assumed the persona of Genya Arikado to address a grave issue. They faced a problem involving the contamination of grimoires, which was causing a dangerous overflow of darkness into the real world. Due to limitations imposed by past events within the Order, it was impossible to directly insert a real-world individual into the grimoire's texts. Consequently, Alucard, drawing upon his true identity, Alucard, stepped in to access the pages and rectify the dire situation. Marvelous verdict. By now, we can all wholeheartedly agree that Alucard is a character shrouded in complexity and rich history, embodying the duality of his nature both as a vampire and a human. His journey from the son of Dracula to a guardian of humanity showcases his inner struggle and moral fortitude. With superhuman abilities, centuries of knowledge, and a strong sense of justice, Alucard has been a pivotal figure in the Castlevania series. Across various iterations, Alucard's character remains a beacon of resilience and growth. His interactions with other characters like Trevor, Cypher, and Maria reveal his capacity for forming meaningful connections and friendships. From his iconic role in Symphony of the Night to his appearances in later games and adaptations, Alucard's story is a compelling exploration of identity, power, and the enduring struggle between light and darkness. His evolution as a character reflects the enduring appeal of the Castlevania series, leaving an indelible mark on the entire franchise. And now that we have come to the very end of this video, what do you think will happen in the upcoming season of Castlevania Nocturn? Will Alucard prove to be successful in defeating the Devourer of Light? Let us know in the comment box below.